Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Dusty Tucker. I had to stop myself in the shop here. I was putting a handle in one of my knives. I think it's number 4. 1, 2, 3. I think it's number 4. Yeah, number 4. And I recently came into a bunch of wood, so I got some oak on here now, and which is awesome because this handle here for this knife wasn't hardwood. This is actually softer wood, and I think this was just some pine from just a scrap piece of wood I had laying around. So I came into a bunch of hardwood now, so I'm actually really pumped to be able to fit this. Now, I fitted the wood. It's still square, not level square, but it's square enough. I drilled the holes in it. I drilled 3 5/32 holes all the way through the metal in the wood. And before I wanted to finish this, I was gonna make a video on my on how I peen and put pins in, and I kind of wanted to show a video on this. There's another guy on YouTube who I actually learned it from. He's only got 2 videos on his channel, but highly worth checking out. Walter White. He does forging a frontier knife, and he does handles and pins on them. And I'm using his process because it is absolutely amazing. Plus it has that, this is the same way I did with this one here, the copper. One of them is out of line, but for my third knife, I think that's okay. Like, I was stupid and I didn't leave it square like this. I had shaped it round. So when I went to drill it, the drill bit wandered a little bit, so that's why they're not in line. So I learned that the hard way. I probably won't do it again. So I made sure I left it square, and I just shaped the ends, and I kind of sort of beveled the front or the top part just a little bit, just so I know which side was which. So now we're going to be on the peening and pin process. So I got some 5/32 brass rod, hollow. So we need to cut this into sections. So it's going to use, you can see how much it's going to use. And then we have a 1/8 thick brass rod, which is really expensive. And I need to, sorry, I've been inhaling sawdust. Really expensive, so I need to order more of this actually, because I'm going to run into this pretty quick. Because the lengths of these that you get them in, you get 2 rods at 5 inches each, and the brass tubing is probably 12 or 13 inches long in total. So I should have ordered more copper, but copper is stupid expensive right now. I think these 2 pieces were $30-some, and that's on Amazon, so that's pretty much as cheap as I'm going to find it. So now what we have to do is we have to take, first of all, I need to, from previous cutting, this is, it's all burred up and everything, so you just need to grab yourself a flat file and square that off. I don't know how much of this process I want to show. I could just do the main steps, but I guess I could do as far as whatever steps that I really feel like it, and go from there. So I need to get rid of that burr, so I'm just going to go with this file here and just square it off. It doesn't take much because it's brass. Oh, my heat in my garage right now is way too hot. I don't know why I should have turned it off. And you want to get rid of the burrs on the circumference as well. So just make sure that there's no burrs on that. Get it nice and square. A little bit more. Make sure there's no rough edges sticking out like that, because when you put it into the wood, it's going to mar your wood a little bit. So I'm trying to make sure, there we go. Okay, so now what the idea is, I should go through these holes perfectly. Look at that. Almost there. There we go. And you want to leave just a tiny bit left Eventually, well, you actually, because you have to cut it, right? So you don't want to, what I like to do is I like to push it out just a little bit like that and then mark this side right to the wood. Just scribe it right to the wood. And I'm just going to use this dull unfinished knife just to get a scribe mark on there. Perfect. Okay, so we got our little scribe mark on there. So we're only using that much of the brass tube. So I need to cut 3 of those, but don't, if you got like wood like me where it's not cut straight, like this is scrap, this is cut off wood, right? It's not flat stock wood that you would get from a store. So what I need to do here is measure each piece as I cut it to make sure that I don't have too much brass recessed down inside the hole there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut those off with probably a hacksaw, and I will come back to you. All right, so now we have our second pin in there, and I just hold the grips together with tape. I know it's a kind of like an amateur type thing, but it's the best thing that I can do. I don't have a clamp on my drill press or nothing, so masking tape, I feel like it works pretty good. So now I just got to do the last one here. Yeah, there's a little bit of ripping coming through, but it's okay. I'll touch it up with some sanding and whatnot. So one more pin to cut, and we'll start prepping these brass pins. Okay, now that we have all 3 pins in place, the wood stays in there nicely, so you don't need any glue. And all the tape is pretty much off now. Come on. All the tape is off, so we're just left with the actual wood. So now, what we need to do is we have some pins that are slightly like larger, sticking out more than others. This last one I've already filed down a little bit. You can take a small file. Here, I'll point the camera down so you can kind of see. So, let's go a little bit further. Okay, so we have this guy here. Just let me get a piece of wood so I can, there. We want to file down these brass things. Sorry if you can't quite see what I'm doing. I can't quite get any closer than that really. So this one's sticking out quite far. Make sure it's flush on the back, or at least pushed in a little bit, or pushed out on this side, so that when you file it, you don't take too much material off. Actually, what I can do is use this piece here to keep it from pushing down farther. I'm just going to keep working at that piece of brass until it gets flush with the wood. I'm going to use a bigger file. Or am I not? I guess I'm not. I don't know where it is. Oh, it's right here. Once in a while, check the other side, make sure it's not pushing in. Almost there. If you want to make it flush, you could flip it over, push it out a little bit, and then get this side flush. See how we're getting pretty close there? Just keep going until you start marring the wood. You're going to sand the wood anyways. You want it to be flush with the wood on that side. This side's perfect. This side needs a little more. There we go. Okay, so you want to do that to all of them. Sorry, I keep going out of focus here. You want to do that to all of them. See how it's like perfectly flush with the wood on both sides. Don't worry about the insides. You can clean that up in a bit. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that with all of them, and I will be right back. Okay, so here we are. You can't see any sticking out. Yeah, there's uneven pressure, but once you pin it, it'll be fine. So now what you want to do is you want to take a round needle file and you want to clean up the burrs that you created inside those pins. So just go ahead and clean those up, because you want that copper rod to flow as freely as possible in there without getting stuck or anything like that. So you want it to be nice and burr free inside there. That looks pretty good. And you can just take a piece of it and test it. Oh yeah, perfect. See how it just travels freely? That's what you want. So we got to do that with all 3 pins. Take away all the burrs. If it's on the outside, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but you can just kind of pick it off, because the pin is going to go over top of that, or the peening process is going to go over top of that anyways. It's going to pinch the wood. See, now the method behind this is that these hollow pins are going to keep the wood, and it's going to keep the pin straight inside the wood. Sorry if I'm not making too much sense. I kind of talk weird sometimes. But the idea here is when you're peening this, because you're inside of a brass tube, it's got nowhere to travel. So it can't bend or start shifting on you or split the wood. And that's what we want, right? We don't want it to split the wood. Why would you want that? So perfect. Works good in there. And there's another step you got to do after. I'm not quite done yet. Let's get all the burrs out of all of these pins. This needle file set, if you don't have one and you're a crafts person, this needle file set is absolutely amazing. If you're Canadian, go to Princess Auto and pick it up. It's worth $20 or whatever. I've used mine more than you can freaking know. It's ridiculous. So just make sure, I feel a little, there we go, got it. Feel some burrs sticking there. There we go. So we have all 3 traveling smoothly inside the inside your pin. So now let's come up here, so you don't have to stare at my gut. Anyway, so now what we want to do is, well, first of all, what I would do is shape the handle, because if you're gonna go down anymore to the wood, you're gonna make the pin. You're gonna have to do that again with the, like, if you're gonna sand the wood down even more, you got to make sure you have the right thickness of where you want it. For me, this is good, so I'm just gonna bevel the edges a little bit. But I don't think I'm even gonna worry about that right now. I think this thickness of the handle is gonna be perfect, so I'm actually gonna peen it as is. Okay, so for the peening process, you want one of these for each, obviously. So what you want to do is you want it to stick out. You want about that much material. You want about 1/8 of an inch on either side, because you need that material to bevel and mushroom over onto the wood and the pin. It's a big step of it. So what you want to do is scribe where you would think 1/8 of an inch would be. So I'm going to go, if it's a little bit long, well, you don't want it too long, but you also don't want it too short. Otherwise you won't get a good peen. This is really hard to scribe. I can't really see it. Come on. There, I think I marked it enough. You want about 1/8 of an inch on either side. So that's the key here. So now what I'm going to do, I might get 2 pins out of this if I'm lucky. So if you're in Canada like me, I would order a bunch of these if you're going to make a few knives with the same way I'm doing it. I would probably order maybe 3 or 4 packages of these. It's going to be expensive, but like I only ordered one thinking it was going to be as long as this, but it wasn't. Different manufacturer. I would just order a bunch of them actually before it gets too expensive. So, and I don't know any other way, because I'm a resourceful guy. I don't like to buy as much stuff as possible. Like I'm even having a hard time. Brass stopper for brass. What I'm getting at basically is a handguard, not a stopper. I call it, I don't know why. 1/8 inch by 1.5 inches by 1 foot is like $50 for brass. Like it's absolutely retarded. So I'm actually I might do this in a video at some point too. I'm gonna melt down a bunch of 9mm casings into my crucible, clean off the slag, and I'm gonna make a mold, maybe about just over 1/8 of an inch thick. And I'm going to pour my own ingots and I'm going to make my own brass that way because it's just stupid. It's so expensive, you guys. Metals is just becoming retarded. Anyway, what I tried doing before these was going cheap and just using copper wire. But I can't find copper wire that's the right thickness. Like this is, this one is 1/8 and this one is slightly shy of it. And with this process, I don't think it might work, but what the problem with this is, like, if you use this material inside here, you see how much play there is? You can see the other side, right? So if I start mushrooming, it might bend on the inside a little bit. So it's going to be really hard to judge how much material you need on either side. Plus, I don't know if it's going to work very well. So that's why the 1/8 inch is literally perfect in there. It's like a sleeve for it. So anyways, so I keep getting off topic here. So yeah, you want about 1/8 of an inch on either side. And like I said before, this wood is tapered. So measure here, measure there, then measure there. You're going to want a little bit different. And I might even sand it down a little bit too. I'm not too sure yet. But I just want to get the pins made first before I start fumbling with that. You don't want that much sticking out. You only want about that much sticking out, 1/8 of an inch, just enough to mushroom over onto the pin and the wood. So I'm cheating. I don't have a hacksaw like I thought I did. So what I've been using is just this cutoff wheel, just super carefully picking the spot where the scribing is. And remember the width of this too, so you have to make sure you're on the far side of it and then send it home. This does get really hot when you're cutting it, so make sure you use a glove and safety glasses. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a pin. I'm not going to cut it on camera because it's obvious how to cut. I want to save that time. Just a little tip, instead, if you're working with a short piece like this, I just put it in a vice grip, but you don't want to over tighten it. I just cut it on here so I don't have to worry about burning my hand because this is still pretty hot. Okay, so now when you have your pin, your other part of your pin, you want to round the edge off. You can see how I kind of rounded off the top of the pin there. That's what you want to do on both sides. So I have to do it on this. See how it's a little bit oblong? You want it rounded so that when you start peening it, it mushrooms evenly instead of going lopsided or crooked or whatever. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to do with a short piece like this, but that's why when I cut it and I have the long end, I round the one end and then I cut it, and then it's not so bad because you only have to round one edge after you cut it instead of both. So I'm just taking a file and I'm just spinning this on an angle, trying to round that edge. So essentially that's all we're doing. And you get good at it after a while. Again, if I had a belt sander, I could just do it a lot easier on that, but I don't got one of those yet, so I'm looking for one. I want to use one though. I don't like paying brand new prices, not because I'm cheap. Well, I am cheap, but I don't need a brand new one. It's just going to be used for this. Making knives. Getting there. See how we're starting to get a little bit of a rounded edge. It's still a little bit oblong, but try and work on that corner a little bit. There we go. Getting there. It's kind of hard to work with such a small piece. Just keep working at it until you get a more round edge. It doesn't have to be a perfectly round edge, but it just performs so much easier and looks better when you're peening it. Sorry if you can't really see what I'm doing. It's just rounding the edge. That's probably almost good enough, I'd say. So I got my 3 pins. I don't want to drop these. 3 pins ready to go. Some are a little bit oblong, but they'll still mushroom. So before we make sure you put those where they're not gonna fall on a crack or anywhere like that, because that would suck. It happened to me once. Okay, so now you have this beveling bit, and oh, I don't have my drill with me. I'll have to go inside and get my drill. But this little beveling device, this is what you want to do to your brass pins. And you want to ream out, you want to bevel that out. And you don't want to just go a little bit to deburr it. You actually want to make it so it's a cup like this. That way when you're mushrooming it, it'll go in the wood and inside that brass cup. So then everything stays nice and uniform like this. And it doesn't split the wood. So that's what we're going for. That's our next step. I got to get my drill. I'll be right back. All right, so I just got my drill from the house. Freshly charged battery. All right, so now I'll show you what I was talking about with that cupping method. God, I'm trying to block the light in the background, sorry, kind of bouncing around. So yeah, you want to just try and bring it down here. Oh, that tripod fell. I need a better camera system. Okay, so I just want to put a little bit of adequate pressure on it. Spin it, and so it's a cup. Like that. You can see how that is now if my camera would focus, that is a nice beveled cup. And you want to do that to all 6 sides, or all 6 of them. Let's go ahead and do it to this guy here. Oh. Sometimes the pin will spin. So you got to kind of go at it lightly. That one needs a little bit more work. There we go. It's popping through this side a little bit, so I might have to actually do a little bit more on this one. Just kind of do a circular pattern. There we go. That one's done. I'll just do them all quickly. That one's done. Flip it over. That one should be good enough. That one should be good. Some of them kind of like to push through, but they will center themselves when you are tapping the peening. Last one. All right, so that's it. We got all the brass pins nice and cupped. They're flush. Check it one more time to make sure that the pins go smoothly in there. This one's a little bit rough. There might be some burrs that have fallen inside. If there's burrs inside, just take your round needle file and just kind of go at it a little bit. Don't have to go too insane, just kind of in and out a couple of times to get rid of some of those burrs. All right, so test it with some pin, or just take one pin and test them all. Make sure they're all okay. That one's good. That one's good. And that one's good. Okay, so now for the next step. The next step is a bit, this might be a little bit difficult for me to get a proper angle, but basically what you want to do is make sure you have a washer. I got one of these. I'm not sure what the thickness is exactly, but the point of the washer is when you're peening it on the anvil, you have your pin, you have this washer underneath like this. That way when you start to peen the top, the bottom doesn't start to peen, and it also leaves room for it. So when you flip it over, and then you can just peen the other side without the washer, and then finish it off that way. So you start with a thick one, and then you go to a smaller one. I have a smaller one already on my anvil, so I just got to get it set up over here. Okay, that's the best angle I could get. So maybe if I spin this a little bit and come over here, see if you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. This is going to be kind of awkward for me, but I'll give it a go. You don't want to use this big 5-pound hammer. That's way too aggressive. Plus, it doesn't have the round head on it. You want to use a ball peen hammer. You want to use the peen. Okay, so let's see. We're going to start with the thick washer first and grab a pin. I got to make sure that I grab the right pin. one that's slightly smaller than the rest. Okay, so pin in, see how it allows room down in there. It's kind of hard to see. I can try to zoom in a little bit. Ah, my hand's in the way. Okay. Oh, I can't zoom in on the front of my screen. Sorry. Okay, so you have the washer underneath, and then you have your piece, your material up top. I can't swing at it this way. I have to rotate it. Sorry, guys, because I'm right-handed. Okay, so basically, I'm going to try and keep the knife as level as I can with allowing you guys to still see what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna tap it. Just tap it, go around, keep going around. And just keep going. Tap it lightly. Just keep going and going and going. Once you get an adequate amount, just check it once in a while. See how much material that you have on the other side. So I'm going to go a little bit more. Sorry if you guys can't. It's really hard to show. Okay, that's actually quite a bit of material. Yeah, I might have to keep going. It's hard to do. I got to go on my knees for this. That's okay. You just peen it a little more. Try not to hit the wood. You just keep tapping, tap, tap, tap. All right, what do we got here for the other side? It's not looking... That's pretty close. We got about that much material left on the other side, so around that 1/8 inch amount. I'm just going to continue going just a little bit. I kind of want to get a nice mushroom bevel going on this side. There. See what I mean by a mushroom bevel? And don't worry about that gap. It'll close off once I start going on this other side. So now what I could do is go with a smaller washer and go more. Okay, so what do we got? We'll try that. We'll give that a whirl. All right, so I'm going to flip it over, and I'm just going to start with going with no washer this time. As Walter White says, tap, 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 tap goes the blacksmith. I'm choking way up on the hammer, by the way. Okay, now we're getting close to the brass, so now you want to be careful. Keep going, check the other side, maybe give it a little more loving. Should be good. Maybe just a tad bit more. That's our peened rivet, or whatever you would want to call it, and see how we got no cracked wood, nothing for that matter, nothing like that. I'm just going to go a little bit more on this side. Should be good. So that's what we're going to do to all three. And I don't think I need to show you the other two, but I'll show you when I'm finished and see what it comes out like. So I'll be back. All right, so peening is all done. We got our peened rivets and our pins in place. As you can, this is what happens when you're a little bit short of material on one side. You have a small peen on one side and a slightly larger peen on the other side, but I mean, that's whatever. It's gonna hold the knife, it's gonna hold the handle on, like that handle. A little bit of tapping on each side back and forth adds up to like a tremendous amount of force. So all I have to do now is shape the wood into my hand, or how I want the handle, and we got it. I should have made the tang a little bit longer, but it's gonna be okay. This will work perfectly. I'm still happy with it, so whatever. I'm just gonna shape it and then I'll show a picture of it when I'm done. So until next time, that's how I pin my knives. Same one I did here. That's 2 now, so we'll keep coming with them. See, actually that's 3. I got 1 pin in this one. So we'll continue. Okay, so here we go. This is the finished project. I just put 1 coat of linseed oil on there just to kind of give it a little bit of a shine, and turned out absolutely beautiful. Hope you guys liked the video.